Hi guys, I was not planning on having a video like this to film because I was not supposed to be buying books. But alas, here we are. You know that we are doing a book haul and I feel like I have quite a few books here in front of me. But to caveat, these are all the books that I bought so far in 2025. So we're almost halfway through the year. I feel like it's really not that bad in the grand scheme of things. But a goal of mine this year was to whittle down my physical TBR and to be buying a lot less books. And I think I'm definitely buying less than I did last year, but obviously I'm still buying quite a bit. Since I've bought so many, I thought it would be fun to just show you guys all the books that I've bought so far and if I've read them, because my initial goal was to buy books only if I'm going to read them like immediately. And spoiler alert, there are 11 novels and then some other things sprinkled in here, and I've only read 4 of these so far, so not doing so great with that goal. So this is kind of a way to hold myself accountable, but also just kind of fun to show you what books have been on my radar. And that's about it. We are just gonna have a good old-fashioned book haul. I'm definitely still figuring out the whole microphone situation. Hopefully this sounds okay because I didn't want to hold that the whole time. But let's go ahead and get started with something that I feel like is very different for my channel, something that I normally have not talked about. So I'm not including these in the 11 novels that I bought because they're not novels, they're comic books. And I'm more so in the collecting phase right now, not really the reading phase. But these are the Invincible comics. Oops, which I feel like is super popular right now because the show Invincible, which I think is on Amazon, is really popular and I have watched the whole show and I love it. It was so good and it got me to really want to read the comics. And they do come in a couple different versions. They have these new ones, which I really love, which are very skinny. This is so expensive. I may regret starting this, but these little things are $15 a piece and they each have like 4 to 5 chapters in it. And the reason why they're so expensive is because they are in full color. But I thought that these ones are so cute. They're very colorful. And I like that they're kind of easily digestible in these little tiny versions. And I just really wanted to collect these ones, and they're kind of hard to get your hands on because they are brand new and they definitely don't have all of them out yet. So I actually don't have volumes 1 through 3, but I have volumes 4 through 8. I realize that this is not something that majority of my audience is probably going to be interested in, but I still just wanted to mention it. I feel like it's something cool and exciting to me and something that's a little bit different. So I just wanted to share my new interest. I just love how each of the volumes look. I love that they're so colorful. I just think this is going to be so fun to collect. It's also something where now every time I go to Barnes & Noble or any other bookstore, I immediately go to the comic book section to see if they have any more. So it's like a treasure hunt to try and find them. Volumes 1 through 3 seem to be impossible to find, but I'm very pleased to have these ones already. I've even gone into a couple different comic book shops and they have not had them either. I actually ordered these on Amazon because I did have a gift card. But yeah, I guess you could say that I'm now a comic book collector. Add that to my resume. I feel like I want to branch out as a reader, and reading comic books is something that I can branch out into. I already read a little bit of manga, which I do have one that I'll talk about here, but this is the first time that I've read any sort of comic book, and I haven't read them yet actually because I don't have volume 1. And even though I've seen the show all the way through this point, I don't really want to start in the middle. I want to start once I have volume 1. Now we're going to go in the order of when I bought these books. First is Us Against You by Frederick Bachman, and I genuinely cannot believe I haven't read this book yet. When I bought this, I thought I was going to read it right away. This is book 2 in the Beartown series, which I have talked about so much, I feel like, even though I've only read book 1, but I love Frederick Bachman. I've only read 2 of his books, but I'm obsessed and I really wanted to get into this series and continue it as quickly as possible before I forgot the hundreds of characters that we have going on in here. That was an exaggeration, but there are a lot of characters, a lot of point of views, and I wanted to get to it before I forgot. And I bought this back in January and it's now May and I haven't read it yet. So what am I doing? See, I feel like this video is really good to get me to realize that I have these books that I need to read. So I really need to get to this one. I may even need to reread a little bit of Beartown or like listen to a synopsis before I go into this one, just so that I have the full picture. But if you are unaware, this is a series that is about a small hockey town and we are following a bunch of different perspectives, like I said, kind of leading up to this big game, and something tragic happens to somebody in the town and we are following how that affects the hockey team, the town, the person who the event happened to, just everything. And the first book was a 5-star for me. It made me feel so many emotions. I've talked about it, I feel like, at length, so I'm gonna stop here. And it's also just a very popular series right now, so I think that you've probably heard of it before, but I really need to continue. And I know this is kind of more of a winter type book because it is about ice hockey and it does take place like in the snow, but I don't care. This could be a summer read. I wouldn't mind. Oh God, is my hair all up in the microphone? Then I know that you guys know what this book is because of the spine. It is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, which is book 3 in the Empyrean series. And I'm sure that everybody listening to this knows about the Empyrean series. The first book is Fourth Wing. It's an adult fantasy about dragons and it just has blown up. It's like one of the most popular books ever, I feel like. And I did read this back back in March, so it took me 2 months of having it before I actually read it. But I actually decided that after this book, I'm going to not finish the Empyrean series because I was kind of underwhelmed and I'm just not really into it anymore. But at the time, I was very excited to continue. I felt like the second book ended on a really good cliffhanger, so I wanted to get into this one like right away. Also, so sorry about this glare. I feel like it is so bad. But I guess short story is that I bought this one in January and I did read it in March. So yay for that. Then we have Apprentice to the Villain, which I also have already read, so that was great. This one was only on my TBR for 1 month, I think. And this is book 2 in the Assistant to the Villain series. I loved book 1, and I think that honestly I may have gone straight into this one. That could be wrong, but I feel like almost immediately after I read the first book, I went into this one because I was just so excited. So I guess it's at least one series where I kind of knocked it out back to back, and I'm now waiting on book 3 to come out. And if you are unaware, this is a kind of like cozy, whimsical fantasy where our main character Evie is an apprentice to a villain, and it's just very unserious and funny. I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun, good time, and I'm so glad that I read this one immediately and did not let it sit on my TBR for a really long time. I'm kind of on a roll because the next book is Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni, which is also in a series. This is book 2 in the Prison Healer series, and I have also read this one. This one I bought in March, and then I read in April, so again, about a month in between. I'm pretty happy with that. I feel like that is not bad. And this series is also super popular, but if you have not heard of it, it is about our main character, what is her name? Kiva, who is at Zollendorf prison, which is a death prison. And there's this whole like rebel situation going on, kind of trying to overthrow the current leadership in the outside world. And the rebel queen ends up being sent to the prison. Kiva is the prison healer. She's tasked with keeping her alive. And the rebel queen is sentenced to do these trials that are basically a death sentence. So Kiva decides to do it in her place. I feel like this is a very fun, young adult, fast-paced series. I didn't love it as much as everybody else. I feel like this is a 5-star series for so many people, and it was more like a 3.5-star series for me, but I had a really fun time reading it. I feel like they were pretty easy to knock out, and I have since finished the series, but I have not bought a physical copy of the third book, and I really want to, just to complete my collection. Up until this point in the year, I was doing so well. I had only bought 4 books and I had read 3 of them. So we were on a roll, and then after this, it kind of starts to go downhill. Then I sold some books at a used bookstore and I had a credit, so I had to kind of look around for some books to buy. And I told myself I wasn't gonna buy any books that I was not dying to read really quickly, but I did buy a first book in a new series, which I don't know when I'm gonna start because I have so many series that I'm in the middle of, so this probably wasn't a great choice. But this is Belladonna by Adeline Grace, which has been on my TBR for so long. This is another very popular young adult fantasy series that I have been wanting to get into for so long. So when I couldn't find anything else at the bookstore, I guess I just was like, well, I'll get to it eventually, but I should not have bought this because I know I'm not gonna get to it probably even this year. So I should have just saved my credit or found something that I was truly going to read immediately, but you live and you learn. I actually don't really know a whole lot about this series, and I kind of wanna go into it blind, but I'm pretty sure that one of our main characters is Death, or the Grim Reaper, something like that. And then our main character, I think, is on the hunt for her sister. Is that wrong? I think something about everybody in her family dies. Like she has a curse or something, or she feels like she's cursed because everyone she gets close to dies. And then I think her sister goes disappearing, what the heck? I think her sister disappears, and then she's on some sort of quest with Death. I could be so wrong, so please don't take my word for it, but I'm gonna be bad and annoying and not read the back of the book because, like I said, I wanna go into it blind whenever I do get to it. So this is a book that I'm very excited to get to. I just shouldn't have bought it now. I should have waited until I was truly ready to read it right away. With the same credit, I also bought volume 8 of Spy Family, which is the one manga that I was talking about that I have been reading. I feel like I've also talked about this series so many times, but it's just a very silly, goofy thing about a mismatched family of an assassin, a mind reader, and like a secret agent, I think. It just makes me laugh. It's just a fun time. It's not anything spectacular, but it's just fun. And I'm currently up to volume 7, so this is the next one that I need to read. And I know I'll get to it soon. I just haven't really been prioritizing this series lately, but I'll definitely get to it by the end of the year. This will take me like an hour to read. So I definitely don't regret getting this one because this one I will actually get to hopefully pretty soon. Then we have Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I of course had to get this when everybody else was talking about it. I did not want to miss out. For some reason it did take me a whole month to read it after I picked it up. But again, I'm not mad at that. I feel like that's pretty quick for my standard. Unless you've been living under a rock, then I'm sure you know that this is of course the Haymitch prequel to the Hunger Games series. I don't think I need to explain this. This is a highly, highly anticipated series that everyone was looking forward to this year. I don't know how you would not know what the Hunger Games is. It was genuinely such a big part of my childhood, I feel like. like. And side note, I am currently rewatching the movies because I'm just in the mood now. I'm so obsessed. But this came out in March. I ended up reading it in April and I was so excited to get to it. And it did not disappoint. It was very fun. No, it wasn't fun. That was such a lie. This was the opposite of fun, but it was a very good story, a very good book. But it was fun, I guess, to just be part of the hype of everybody being very excited. I feel like there's been very few moments since I've started reading again where there's been a book like Fourth Wing or this that have been actively hyped up in the moment where I have read it at the same time as everyone else. I usually join the bandwagon a little bit later, but it's very enjoyable to be reading something at the same time as everybody else. It just feels like you're kind of connected with the rest of the reading community. So that part was fun. And I'm glad that I read it right away. Then April happened and I did not do very good in April, but I have a reason. I have an excuse, which was that I live in Houston, Texas, and we were having a independent bookstore crawl kind of thing. Most of the independent bookstores in the area just kind of came together to use the month to promote going to indie bookstores. There was a whole bingo card that you could get and I got a couple stamps and I was definitely wanting to visit as many as I could. Spoiler alert, I think I only went to 4 out of like 20 or 25, but honestly that was probably for the best because I bought at least one book at every place because the whole point was to go there to support, so I had to buy something. If the book crawl thing hadn't happened, I don't know if I would have bought a single book in all of April, but I had to support, so you know, it is what it is. And I will say that since then I have not bought any more books, so I'm back on track, but this is kind of my excuse as to why I have so many books. The first book I bought was The Ministry of Time by Kalian Bradley. This is a very popular book. I feel like Haley fam is the reason that everybody is reading this, and I definitely was very intrigued because this is kind of a mashup of different genres. It is science fiction, I think it's romance, it's also like a historical fiction. It kind of has a lot going on. It sounds really interesting, and to be honest, I've heard mixed reviews from people, so I'm really curious to see what I think. My understanding is that we have time travel here, and we have people who act as liaisons, or I don't know what they call them, but I think they go back in time and they will take people into the present or some sort of future timeline. For what reason, I don't know, but the liaisons basically just take people from the past and they help them to acclimate to this future timeline that they're in, and I think it's kind of just to test time travel and the effects on people or something. I don't really know, but I think that our main character is a woman who does this work, and I think that she maybe falls in love with somebody that she brings into the future. I don't know if I explained that very well, but it sounds to me very interesting, very unique, not like any other concept that I feel like I've heard before, and I've been kind of getting into science fiction lately, so I want to give it a try. I have a feeling I might get to this one by the end of the year. This is one that I knew I wanted to read it for a really long time, at least a few months, maybe not that long, but I was happy to pick it up because I knew I was going to add it to my TBR eventually. But then I got The Fellowship of Puzzle Makers by Samuel Burr, and this is a book that I had never heard of before, but it was recommended by one of the staff at the bookstore, and I would like to make more of a conscious effort to not be stuck in the rut of reading only books that are really popular on Book Talk or BookTube. I feel like the same books are always circulating, and I would love to just read different stuff, learn about other authors that maybe nobody's talking about, see if I find somebody that I really love, and just give space, give time to people who are not already being spoken about 24/7. I feel like that is easier said than done when I hear about so many books that just sound really good, and I feel like it's easy to just get sucked in to the hype around certain books. So we'll see how I really do about this, but I would like to be reading more books that I have not heard of before. And this is one of them, and this got me pretty excited because I think that this is a cozy mystery. The bookstore that I got it from actually specializes in mysteries and thrillers, so I was like, if they're recommending it, hopefully it's really good. And it sounds almost like it's got a bit of a fantasy aspect to it, or just a little bit of whimsy, a little bit of kind of unseriousness, because our main character Clayton was abandoned on the steps of the Fellowship of Puzzle Makers, which is some sort of group. Like, is it some sort of secret society thing? What kind of puzzles are they solving? Is it like murder mysteries? Is it more so innocent, like puzzles, crosswords, things like that? I don't know. But I know that our storyline is going to go over Clayton trying to find out the mystery of his parents. And it says it's a pure joy, a story about love and family and what it means to find your people no matter what age you are, which I thought just sounded sweet. I'll admit it's not a book that I'm so excited, like cannot wait to pick this up and read, but I obviously do want to read it. I think it would be cute, and I hope I get to it sometime soon, but it's definitely not at the very top of my priority list. Then we have Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan, and I have read 2 books by this author and I really enjoyed them. So when I went to a romance only bookstore, this is what I picked up. All of Annabelle Monaghan's books are kind of in the general fiction genre, a little bit more than they are romances. At least that's how they're marketed. To me, they're definitely romance heavy. I would probably classify them as a romance, but they do deal a lot with personal issues and things that aren't strictly about romance, which I enjoy, kind of like Emily Henry. And I actually don't know what this book is about, but I just know that I'm probably gonna love it because I like her writing. Oh, interesting. I don't know if I'm gonna like this actually. I'm sure she's gonna do this well, but this is about Sam, our main character. She has a fiance and this really great life, and then I think she goes back to her small town and she sees this guy named Wyatt, who is the guy who broke her heart when she was 16. And I guess she starts to have a lot of feelings for this guy Wyatt while she is engaged to another man, which that is not sounding great to me actually. I don't love books where it's a romance and our main character starts out with somebody else. That usually feels icky to me, but I'm interested to see how she pulls it off because I have heard good things about this book, so I don't know. Even knowing the premise, I'm sure I would have picked it up because I love her writing and I want to read more of it, but now I feel kind of embarrassed that I did not know that that's what this is about. And I bought it. It does show that I'm a bit of an impulse buyer, but again, I had to support the local bookstores. Then I got My Sister the Serial Killer by, I'm sure I will not say this right, but I will try, I think Oyinkan Braithwaite. So sorry if anybody knows how to pronounce this and I butchered it. You can feel free to let me know how you actually say this. But this is a book that's been on my TBR ever since I started reading. I think my friend Chloe first recommended it to me, and I haven't heard too many people talk about this book, but it's just been sitting on my TBR and Goodreads for so long. So I finally picked it up, and it is a mystery thriller. Obviously, our main character's sister is a serial killer, or is she? I'm not really sure. And this one, I have absolutely no idea what it's about other than the title. And I love going into mystery thrillers blind, so I'm not gonna find out any more about it. And lately, I have just not been in a mystery thriller mood, but I'm kind of wanting to get back into it. So this could be the book that gets me into it because my friend Chloe did say that it's very fast paced. So who knows, maybe I'll get to this one really soon. Last book I bought is Butter by Asako Yuzuku. And I will admit that I bought this book like 90% because of the cover. This is another one that I've seen for a really long time. I never knew what it was about, but I loved the cover. And it's also a mystery thriller, which I would not have guessed, but it's something about a restaurant. And I did read the back of this and I thought it was very interesting. I'm just gonna read you the blurb. The cult Japanese bestseller about a female gourmet cook and serial killer and the journalist intent on cracking her case. Inspired by a true story. Whoa. So very different. I've never read any sort of mystery thriller that revolves around a restaurant. JK, I have. I read Arsenic and Adobo and the second book in that series, and I did really enjoy them. Those were definitely more of cozy mysteries, so I don't know if this one is a little bit more intense, but I guess I have read something in a similar vein and I enjoyed it, so hopefully I will enjoy this one too. I don't know if we're gonna have anything to do with a cow. There must be something about butter. Maybe that's the name of the restaurant or something, I don't know. But again, I don't really want to know too much about it other than we have a gourmet chef, a serial killer, and a journalist who is on the case. So sounds very fun. So these are all the books that I've purchased in the past 5.5 months. And like I said, the stack is a little bit bigger than I would like it to be, but I will recognize that I am making improvement compared to last year. I'm definitely buying less books than I have in the past, and I am trying to make an effort to buy books that I'm only going to read soon, with the exception of the books that I bought for the independent bookstore crawl. But can you blame me? No, I don't think you can. I was doing my civic duty. So let me know if you guys have read any of these books or if you also have them on your TBR. I would also love to know if anybody else has watched or is reading Invincible. And let me know what other books are on your radar. What have you bought recently? What are you the most excited to get into? New releases, old books, anything. I just want to know what y'all are buying. Not so that I can buy it myself, because I won't be doing that, hopefully. But that is everything. Hopefully you won't be seeing any more book hauls from me anytime soon. But I hope that you have enjoyed listening to the books that I have added to my collection this year. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!